I really love this decision.
Over the middle, got his man, and look at him go! Jalen Waddle for the touchdown!
Welcome to Inside Leverage, your gateway to the fascinating realm of the Miami Dolphins. Join us as we delve deep into the team's dynamic Super Bowl journey. We invite you to share your most scorching takes, unwind, and relish in our captivating experience.
Show, baby. That's what we do.
Welcome, everybody,
Girl, come on to me. Come over here and perform for me.
to another episode of Inside Leverage Live. This is your host,
Come over here and perform for me.
and we're coming live and direct
Come on in.
from the 305.
Hey, 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 hey,
Just give me the
hey,
light. Come on
hey.
in. Give me the. You know, realize I am the DJ.
How's everybody
So
feeling out there? It's a beautiful Tuesday evening.
Just give
Pull
me
it.
the light and
Pull
pass
it.
the joy.
Go.
Make you feel like you're
Go.
in control.
I appreciate
Keep it
all you guys joining
going.
us tonight.
Which
Boom.
one's gonna catch my flow?
Loving the
'Cause I'm in
vibes.
and I
Shout out to the Heat,
make you feel like
getting it done. Gonna get it done tonight. It's a magical time to be alive.
Oh, yeah, baby. Let's get it. I gotta cut it at some point. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's go.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on, family? Hey, appreciate you guys joining us tonight.
Yeah,
How we feeling, boys? How we feeling, boys?
man, we're getting closer to the draft.
I
lot
thought
of things to
I thought
talk
we were at a club or something. All this music and stuff. Like, are we?
Hey, man, listen.
Well, hey, what's wrong with that?
I'm
It's the
just
weekend
saying, bro.
somewhere. It's
Come on, man. Come on. We gonna talk football. We gonna dance. You figure it out. You figure it out. You,
So tired of you.
you
Yeah,
figure
you-
it out.
you know, people just don't know how to multitask.
I'm here with the Google takes. I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
Okay.
Oh,
Listen.
multitask.
Listen. We're gonna do this quick tonight because we got our guest. He's already backstage, already sat in the makeup chair, and he's all ready to go. I want everybody to give a warm welcome to the one and only Jordan Vanek.
Yo, Jordan, what up, my guy?
What's going on? What we got going on?
The music before just gets you amped. It feels like
Yes, sir.
you're
Hey,
getting
did
real
it not
close
do
to
the
the
job
draft.
or what? Did
It
it not do the
does.
job?
It does do the
Okay.
job.
Don't enable him. Do not enable this. Don't
Turn me
certainly
up,
woke
coach.
me up.
Turn me up, coach.
Hey, listen. All right, so if
Simmer.
anybody, whoever's out there doesn't know who Jordan is, he's gonna have his opportunity now. Jordan, why don't you let everybody know who you are, what you're up to, like who do you contribute to? The floor is yours.
So I'm I should say college football DFS is what I'll be doing this upcoming season with Roto Grinders. You can find my content over on Twitter at Jordan Vanek DFS. Mainly breakdown receivers. That's usually where the realm of what my expertise is. It was early on to Tank Dell last year, been early on to the Miami offense 2 years ago with Mike McDaniel coming over. Had a lot of Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and made a decent amount of money during that Ravens game just 2 years ago. So you can find me on Twitter, Jordan Vanek DFS.
Awesome. Take it away, my boy.
Jordan,
Yes.
man.
Hey, y'all see
That's
this
the-
microphone? Hold on. Y'all see French's microphone?
This is,
Listen.
is he? I think he's trying to take my job or something.
Wow, look at him. The fake DJ.
Jo-
Go ahead. Man.
Jordan, I want to jump in. Well, welcome to the show. Let's start. Who's your team? I hear you're a Panther fan.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers is where I'll be rooting for, the team I've been with since can ever remember. I think it was like 2002, 2003, the Panthers were playing the Jags. I kept saying go cat team, and my dad didn't know what cat I was rooting for with the Jaguars Panthers. And he decided whoever won that game was going to be he would buy me stuff for, and that's just exactly how I became a Panthers fan.
Okay. Well, we got a guy who left his team via free agency. Since we're talking free agency, a little bit of draft. Rob Hunt. How are you guys feeling about that acquisition? You know, paid a healthy penny for that protection.
Oh, interior offensive line. We needed. We gave up 28 sacks between the guard and center last season, or guard to guard last season. The next closest team was the Giants, who we know bad offensive line, at 23. There were, I think, 11 or 13 teams under 5. We gave up 28. It was a very, very bad interior offensive line. And if you think that when Breeze was at his best, that Saints offensive line interior was a bunch of studs. So I'm hoping Robert Hunt is as advertised as he was this past year in Miami, and that it gives Bryce Young a lot more time to be able to throw the football.
Certainly does.
Yeah, go ahead, Mechanic.
No, I was just agreeing. Certainly does. It's just like Tua. He needs an interior line to allow him to step up. My bad, French. That's what I wanted to say.
No. I was just gonna say with Rob Hunt and making that acquisition. How do you think this kind of pose you guys, to make that next jump? What do you think that kind of lines you guys up with?
I think, to me, the offseason that Dan Morgan's had, he's cleaned out a lot of what we made mistakes on. Like, we gave up Brian Burns for basically free, considering we were offered 2 firsts and a second from the Rams just 2 years ago. We ended up giving him up for a second, which kind of sucked, but is at the same time, that's what his value is when you're 1 year away from paying him $30+ million a year. So it's kind of like that's where that was at. And then the rest of the offseason, I've been very happy. It's just going to come down to, do we get the receiver right at 33 or 37? Those are the 2 opportunities we have. I love this class. It's going to take a lot for them to not make a pick, I would like. But right now I'm staring at 33 and 37 and like, all right, Dan, you have to get that right. You can't afford to give Bryce Young just Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, and expect him to go be a great quarterback next year and kind of right the wrongs of the past year.
Well, give me your top 5 guys right now at the wide receiver class that you project to be like studs, or give me maybe 2 or 3 guys that nobody's talking about towards the end of but are gonna pop on the scene.
Yeah. So for me, Malachi Corley. I know he ran the gimmick offense at Western Kentucky. Everybody's worried about if he can truly run a full route tree, all that other nonsense. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. I got to see him up close in person. He's got enough wiggle to him that I enjoy to expect that he can be a Deebo Samuel-esque weapon on the offensive side of the ball, where you can just give him a screen and he can go. Roman Wilson is under talk just because of the way Michigan's offense was. Those are 2 guys that I wouldn't mind at like 37, maybe even the 3rd. I would not want to take them over some of the guys I think will be there at 33. In particular, it's a homegrown kid in Xavier Legette. I know everybody's afraid of the late breakout. He's a 5th-year senior, but I think it was Brett Coleman posted a story of like what this kid's had to go through. And then I got to see him up close in the Senior Bowl. He was playing through, like, practicing with like a calf strain and something else, trying to do it, and was still winning pretty consistently. And you have a 4'3", 6 foot, 220-pound receiver. I think he's not AJ Brown, but I think if you pair him with a Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen, it's like these are 2 receivers that can develop him and let him learn from and be able to become, hopefully, an AJ Brown, DK Metcalf level player.
So if I can expound on French's question. So among those receivers or your top 5 or top 10, who do you feel fits best for this offense, the Mike McDaniel offense?
So, I mean, you saw how big of a smile he had when he was shaking Xavier Worthy's hand. you add another, you make Jalen Waddle your fifth fastest player, or skill player, I should say, on an offensive football field. With Mike McDaniel's creativity, that's just terrifying. I know Brian Thomas is one that he makes a lot of sense just because he gives you a dimension that you guys haven't had, but it's also the standpoint of, is it a dimension that you need? And also, I don't know if he's going to pass a team like Indianapolis at 15, who desperately needs to upgrade Alec Pierce's role in the offense where Brian Thomas can fit in. I'd say the third player, if I had to pick anybody outside of Worthy and Brian Thomas, honestly, Vlad McConkey. Like, dude who can get open, separate with ease. He's got great hands. The anticipation throws that Tua wants to make. You have three guys in that offense that do it at a very, very high level. Lad would be, I guess, like the third option for me.
Go ahead, Wally.
Hey man, I was just about to say the kid from Georgia, but in the same realm, I you could get value with Roman Wilson in the same position as well. So it's I think to me this year it's like one of the deepest wide receiver class. But I like Xavier Leggett. I think I love what he does. I like Javon Baker. So I know you mentioned that the speed or whatnot, but I think those two kids, and they have this dynamic that you can't write on paper. Javon Baker high points the ball, and it's impressive. And I think he's the kid that hasn't had really consistent quarterback play. Same thing with Leggett. So there's so much to untap there. What are your feels about those guys being in this offense?
So to give you a little bit more background, I was a player personnel intern at University of Central Florida. So very familiar with Baker when some of the stuff that was going on with him transferring from Alabama to UCF, and then the pairing, the fit, everything going on from there. So with Baker's game, the contested catch ability is insane. He adapts to every single ball thrown, whether it's out of his reach or just whatever. He kind of has like a Mike Williams esque knack to do those little things that contort his body and make plays. But the one thing I would say for him that worries me in this particular offense is he going to really produce? Like, Mike McDaniel's made it clear it's the running game with the just home run plays of Mostert and Achane, and then it's getting the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So with Baker, it's going to come down to hey, are you going to be comfortable being a 3 in this offense, maybe even a 4th in touches? And then are you a blocker? Are you doing those little things? Because the bigger bodied receiver, I think that's going to be the first question that Mike McDaniel's got to have with these guys, where if you get another Xavier Worthy, it's hey, how are you going to defend this? Your hamstrings for your DBs better be intact, because guarding 3-4-2 level speed wide receivers, I can't imagine what that looks like at the next level, but I'm expecting Mike McDaniel to be jumping at the bits for that type of pick.
Go ahead, Chad.
Jordan, what's going on, brother? Nice to have you. Appreciate you giving us your time. So, where are we at as far as prospects that stood out to you the most at the Senior Bowl?
Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall, to me, I've got him as the number 6 receiver in this class, ahead of Keon Coleman, ahead of Troy Franklin, A.D. Mitchell. I know A.D. Mitchell's really, really good. I know that he has a lot of potential. I wouldn't be oh, wow, that's a bad pick if a team picked him over Ricky Pearsall. But if you watch Ricky Pearsall play football, he's ability to identify coverages, to kind of stop his routes where it's hey, I'm open now. Or the ability for him where the contested catch ability is insane. Some of the catches he made this past year at Florida are arguably the best I've ever seen in college or football, up there with a Tyron Pro throw over the back catch. I think Riley Ridley had a ridiculous one against Tennessee, but you saw Pearsall catch it over his body and just take a shot right in the middle of the chest and still just hang on to it. At the Senior Bowl, the only corner that I believe gave him issues was Quinyon Mitchell, but obviously Quinyon Mitchell might be cornerback 1 in this draft class, so it's not really that concerning. Lad obviously stood out just from the separation ability. Roman Wilson, it was so strange watching him because you don't see someone that's 4-2 fast. You don't see someone that's bigger. You don't see someone that's shiftier than everybody. But every single play, it felt like he was getting open. Like he just kind of had a knack to like find the soft spot, be able to just separate horizontally. So I'd say those three would be the three main ones that stood out to me the most. I know Leggett, again, like I said, he was injured during it, so he pulled himself out of competition after I think he hurt his foot. But for the most part, he was also dominating.
Hey, I don't know how to ask this next question without being ostracized by the group. I'm a bit of a polarizing character within this clan at
Yeah,
times. Let me ask.
on your own beat. You do
Uh,
whatever you want. Yeah, it's no structure.
let me
You just do
let
whatever you want. Go
we
ahead.
it in the mansion that Stephen Ross built with a bunch of Lamborghinis and Ferraris. When I start bringing up the concept of a dually, they start, why do you want that big gas guzzler? When you talk about that Florida State wide receiver, what's his name, Johnny Wilson, what round do you think he go? I phrased the point of taking if he is there in the later rounds to where, okay, here's me with the dip on my chip. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. Will you get a worthy? And depending on where he falls in the draft, you can come back and depending on if he gets, I don't know where he's gonna get drafted, but what do you think he gets drafted at? Because I like the concept of taking somebody like that and putting them at tight end within the system. And now you're just talking about mismatch overload because you gotta outscore these teams.
So with Johnny Wilson, it was at the Senior Bowl, he dealt with so many drops. I have no idea what was going on with his hands, but when he was playing out wide, it felt like he couldn't catch a football. But then he moved into the slot and he looked comfortable. He looked like, okay, like you see why he's 6'7", and teams like a lot of things about him. My biggest thing with him is like, yeah, he's big. Yes, he's got some, ability, but what is his role and does it equate to what you want for your draft capital? Like, I don't think he wants to play tight end. He refused to do drills at tight end at the Senior Bowl. So that kind of tells you like, hey, I'm playing receiver. And then it's like, okay, well, if you're going to play receiver and you don't want to play out wide, so now you're going to play in the slot, that's where Tyreek Hill and kind of Waddle are just living. I think Miami could possibly take him in the 5th, 6th, but I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's going to end up being an early day 3 pick for a team that's kind of got a role of like, hey, this is how we're going to use him in our offense. This is what we're looking for. But for Miami, it's like, he's big. He's got the size, but is he going to be doing the little things that help everybody else? And I don't know if he would be willing to do that in this offense.
So I don't want him then.
I mean, I think the Florida State receiver you should be considering is Keon Coleman. Everybody freaks out about that 4.6, but I can't. I hate that the 40. I can't stand it.
Okay, we'll buy another Lambo.
You got another question, French? We good? You got another
No, listen. When the gavel's up and I smack the gavel, I'm done. Once the gavel gets smacked, we're done.
That's a gimmick. Go ahead, Coach. If you have a question.
Thank you. Now that I have permission to speak,
thank you. I apologize.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, jeez.
So Jordan, one of the guys that I was doing some light research on was the Alabama guy Burton. I know he had some off the field issues and maturity issues reportedly. Do you have any opinions on him either way?
Oh, he's just a kind of a deep threat. I honestly feel like his role in the NFL will be like a wide receiver 4, where it's just he gets on the field, his opportunities just clear out defenses. Honestly, similar to what Robbie Anderson was asked to do of Miami this past year, or Robbie Chosen. I've chosen Anderson. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, exactly. Burton, he's got like, what's the word I want to use? He's not. I've watched a ton of Alabama receivers. I'm an Alabama fan, so like I've watched everybody come through. I expected a lot more from him the year he had with Bryce Young, and it just never was there. And then this past year, he flashed down the field, but I don't think any of the Alabama receivers were truly NFL talent at the moment.
Appreciate it.
So
go ahead,
this goes great. Like I feel like every question you guys have asked segues to my question because
thank you. So great. I'm glad we're doing a great
show. It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing.
So Jordan, walk with me as I pull a French real quick. So I I was talking to our fellow Finns community, and we were talking about the type of third option receiver that we were looking for. Correct. So I made the opinion that I think we need to find a guy that's a third option, could but eventually can be a number two, number one, 1A, 1B, however you want to look at it. But not only that, but also be a little versatile as far as being a boundary and a slot receiver. That helps Tyreek and Waddle now, and it can make us continue to be versatile for the future when we have to re-sign Waddle to a new deal. Tyreek is on his merry way, hopefully with a Super Bowl ring, and we have a rookie who is experienced in different positions of the field of the line. Do you agree? And who is a guy, in your opinion, in your top five that fits that mold?
So I think yes, playing inside out every single like Mike McDaniel especially wants that. Like he wants someone that is comfortable playing in the slot, comfortable playing out wide. Because again, you see your motions. Tyreek Hill lines up at tight end occasionally. It worked against the Broncos where nobody was guarding him. They had no idea how to handle this motion. So the first thing I think Mike McDaniel's looking at is your horizontal speed. That's like you play inside out, of course, but then are you fast horizontally? Like I don't care necessarily your straight line speed because that's not the throw I'm asking to make. Can you run a slant extremely fast? So, and the player that actually was one of the fastest in route running this past year was Keon Coleman. I think his top speed on a slant was like 18 miles an hour or something crazy. I know his 4.6 40 scares everybody. I know he's a bigger body dude. Everybody's afraid of can he separate? I see plenty of separation on his film. I see plenty of windows for a quarterback to throw the ball. But Jordan Travis is just a quarterback that processes late. He throws the ball when it's tightly contested, so it forces Keon Coleman to be in those contested looks. I would say Brian Thomas isn't someone that fits that mold, but he does fit the concept of like he's 4.3 fast at that height and weight. Mike McDaniel will find a way to get his role going. But again, how many touches are these guys going to actually get this upcoming year? That's going to be a very difficult question, especially with all the touches that are going to Tyreek Hill, going to Waddle, and going to that running back room. Makes the question, hey, can we really spend a first round pick on someone that's going to generate 60 catches this upcoming year? Or do we want to take that first round pick and pick a cornerback to obviously develop with Jalen and or Fuller? Do we want to take an interior defense lineman, whether it's Byron Murphy or Newton from Illinois, who's just monstrous? Like these guys aren't top 10 picks, but these are guys that will immediately impact our defense, our defensive scheme, and be able to make impacts, especially even at the edge, because obviously you have the two massive injuries, and you did bring in Shaq or Barrett, but can he really hold it down for 10 weeks if that's what it takes to get Jalen Phillips up and running?
Hey, you know what's crazy, Jordan? I basically said we were gonna go defensive lineman, and defensive tackle. They kicked me out of chats and the spaces because I feel like just like you're saying, we can get value off a guy like McCaffrey in the latter rounds that nobody's talking about. Even what's his kid? The Sidney Rice, the Jerry Rice's kid.
Yep.
There's a bunch of undervalued talent. Is there a guy nobody's talking about too much that you can see in the latter rounds? Not even in the you know how people say he's a third round gem, like in the latter parts. Nobody's talking about that could come in here and work out for this offense.
I'm trying to think. I think an interesting prospect, if you guys want some size, is Jalen Coker. He's from Holy Cross, I believe.
Holy Cross, yeah.
Yeah, he would be like the day 3 gem that like not gem. I wouldn't project him to be like real impact, but a guy that can fulfill a wide receiver 3 role and do things that other receivers on your team currently aren't capable of. And again, right now, the way that you guys are able to piece together the roster with Wilkins departing, with a ton of the other guys going out. Like I love the Jordan Brooks signing. Like he's a significant upgrade over Baker, in my opinion. Kendall Fuller is just a very, very, very dependable corner that the Ravens utilized very well this past season. Jordan Poyer, obviously replacing Brandon Jones. Like there's nothing, like you guys don't have to make a single pick onto, like we have to fill this need desperately. It's like we have a roster kind of set. Who's going to be able to make an impact maybe right away for us? Obviously, the offense line, you can never go wrong. Plenty of guys that can be useful at this pick. I think the offensive tackle draft is crazy. Like, it's probably one of the best tackle drafts we've had in a decade. And I think personally, from my opinion of me scouting these wide receivers, this is the best wide receiver class we've ever had. I know that Odell class was crazy talented. I can't say I watched everything at the level of knowledge that I have now, but the wide receivers in this upcoming draft are extremely talented. The fifth wide receiver this year would have graded higher than the number one wide receiver last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, a big part of the reason why a lot of us are high on the wide receiver talk now is like there's a world in which Tyreek Hill could possibly age out, maybe lose some of that athleticism as he gets into his 30s, later in his 30s, the next couple of years, that contract is not necessarily shored up. So, there's some things there that could possibly leave some room for somebody to be brought in and possibly be the future with the Jalen Waddle if you're going to commit a lot of money to him. Or if you plan on committing money to both of them, it's going to be hard to get a high impact free agent. There's some talk about Tyler Boyd and Odell Beckham being added into the equation, and those guys are going to be significant additions. So, if you're going to put money into the wide receiver room, then cool, and then I think that probably lessens the need to go round one for that guy. But if they don't so happen to kind of try to see what happens and see how the board plays, a Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, some of these guys, a Leggett could be an extremely intriguing add to this current, litany of talent that we already have on the offensive side of the ball. So, it's just there's so many ways that it can go. And then Tyreek has this off the field issues. Are those going to continue? Or are they going to worsen? I think these are all things that the team may be, considering when talking to wide receivers. So.
Yeah, no, I think, again, Greer has the opportunity to just pick BPA. I think you guys letting Christian Wilkins walk in free agency just tells you, hey, we're paying Waddle. Like, Waddle's going to be paid. But then it's like, all right, what does Jalen Phillips look like? Like, how does this year end up working out for him? Just in a really tough spot, tough position for him. But at the receiver position, yeah, this class, like, you could possibly get a guy you would take in the top 50 or 12, 13 at your pick at receiver. And if you have that opportunity, like, again, Xavier Worthy is the one that stands out for everybody just because, I don't know, I look at that with him, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill and three wide receiver sets and say, how do you defend it? Like, I don't know how I would have corners line up to be able to cover all three of these guys and the element of speed that they bring. And honestly, it would probably lessen the need to pay for offensive linemen if these guys are just running all over the place quicker than any other team has the ability to do.
Jordan, I got a quick question. What exactly is DFS for the people out there who are just watching?
So DFS is daily fantasy sports, is what it stands for. It's different from your fantasy football because it's weekly. So I'll be playing in a contest on, Sunday for just the 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. games where you pick quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, flex position, which is your running back, wide receiver, tight end, and a defense. And everybody has the same salary, or like you have 50,000 fake dollars.
Yeah, like a budget.
Yeah, budget. And then,
You
your
just buy
Tyreek Hill
players.
is $9K. So like, fording Tyreek Hill is really hard, and you get, different guys at different price points. Obviously, your Mahomes will be in the 7K range, Tyreek Hill 9K, Saquon 8K. Like, you got to be able to pick your lineup, correlate it, and kind of play. I've been playing DFS since I was 18, which 2016. And the first ever contest that I not won, I came in second. It was a $2 lineup that I turned into $4,000 because of Cameron Artis Payne. As a Carolina Panthers fan, that was very fun. That's the first ever hit that I had. It was the day that Cam Newton got benched for not wearing a tie, I think it was, by Ron Rivera. And I think it was who's the back? Derek Anderson started for us,
Derek Anderson,
and
yeah. Mhm.
we just I knew goal line back would be Cameron Artis-Payne, so I just played him, and he scored 3 touchdowns. And the contest I was playing had 100,000 entries, and only I think it was 7% of them had Cameron Artis-Payne. So it was
Jesus,
a
wow.
fantastic day for me.
So does that like kind of like join with this roto grind thing that you got going on?
Yeah, so for Roto Grinders, I'll be doing the same thing for college football. College football is where I had my biggest hit. It was $90 to 65K. I
Woo!
came in first, third, fifth, 12th, and I think like 18th on just again 5 lineups. It was all stacked onto UCF and Memphis. And on top of that, I played this running back Letty Brown. He went to West Virginia. He had 200 rushing yards at halftime. And then I was able to get actually Treylon Burks was in my lineup at Arkansas. And it was like his first week back from being injured. And he scored like 35 DraftKings points.
But wait,
So
wait.
yeah,
So am I hearing that correct? How much was that you said?
$90 to 65K. That's my biggest win.
Bro,
Wow.
it's crazy because a buddy of mine, when this thing first started, DraftKings, they had a party at a place I used to work at, and it's literally like finding penny stocks to boom. It's insane, man. That's dope, man. That's what's up.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it was that day I'll never be able to forget. Like sadly it was a time period where my grandma got sick. So like I called my dad and be like, hey, like, do you want good news? Like I, don't know what's going on. And he's like, yeah, we could all use good news. And I told him, and then you heard my uncle in the back drop an F-bomb saying, what did you win? And it was a bright moment. And it was even funnier because I called my boss and he's like, so are you leaving? And it was like peak COVID. So I was like,
Wow.
no, I'm just going to work. Like,
Wow.
what else am I going to do? He's like, are you sure you're not leaving, not celebrating? I'm like, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
In retrospect, that's the best time to win some money because you're gonna save it and be smart with it. It's great. It's the best time.
I think the first thing I did was pay off student loans. That was the very
wow.
first thing.
That right there is perfect. That's the dream. That is the
Yes.
dream.
Yes.
Helped out a lot.
Yeah. Go ahead, French.
Well, let me ask you this question: where do you put the running back class in
this running? So it's not top. There's no elite running back. Like everybody's trying to find one. This guy's the sleeper of the class. Like all this nonsense about these guys, but to be honest, it's a class of guys where not that he's not an RB1, but Raheem Mostert, what his career has been. Like you put him with a right scheme and his speed just shows up with Miami, and obviously he scored 20 plus touchdowns. So like that's the type of class that it is where these guys go and what offenses they're a part of will dictate what their success is at the next level and what we actually think of a lot of these guys at the end. Like, for example, Braylon Allen was a guy that I loved when he was a 17-year-old freshman at Wisconsin. His story is crazy. He was a strong safety for them. And then 2 running backs tore their ACLs, and the third one got hurt. And he had played running back in high school, so they decided, go for it. And obviously he ended up running for like 200 yards in 3 straight games or something crazy as a 17-year-old. And he's a guy where if he ends up in Los Angeles, perfect. Because I know Harbaugh is going to run the ball. Like everybody from a fantasy football community and just DFS in general, they traded Keenan Allen for a 4th. They cut Mike Williams. Their best receiver is Quentin Johnson. Their second best is Josh Palmer. They are not throwing the ball. They hired Greg Roman. Everybody remembers Greg Roman from the 49ers with Harbaugh, where what did they have? They had Kaepernick. They were running the ball. You bring him over to Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, run the ball. This team is going to be running the ball a lot. They have Gus Edwards, and that's really it. So I expect them to get a running back in this draft, and that's the type of spot where that running back can be pretty good.
Well, let me just follow up with this question. Wally mentioned penny stocks. Give me a player that you think in this drive is a penny stock that, one of those guys that nobody's talking about, that penny stock that's going to come, because you got guys like that every year that they go 5th, 6th round, they come on, a specific team and whoa, I didn't know he had that catchability or that intangible trait, whether it's high catchability, agility. Is there any guy that might pop off the screen, and it could be at any specific position?
Yeah, again, my expertise is probably receivers. That's where I'd realm of like this is the guy. It's Malik Washington, from Virginia. He had the first game of the season, he had like 60 yards, and then he had 100 yards, or I think it was 90 or 100 yards in every single game after that. The dude's electric. There's nobody in the class that can run an out and up better than him. He's got, like, at his size, he breaks tackles with ease, it looks like. It's kind of shocking because he's not big at all. And what the Miami Dolphins have done these last 2 years, people are going to steal your motion. Like, they're going to steal what Tyreek Hill does pre-snap, what Jalen Waddle does pre-snap. That's the type of player with Malik Washington to be able to do it. He's a bigger version of like Khalif Raymond, where Khalif Raymond, what he does in Detroit, where he's the speed guy, yada, yada. I think Malik Washington, for me, I look at a guy and I'm like, okay, like you can emulate a lot of what teams struggle with you guys. It's not quite the same, but you see it with the Rams. The Rams took your motion during the season last year. Like what they do with Puka and Tutu and Cooper Kupp, like a lot of that is the same stuff you guys are doing with Tyreek, Waddle, even like Braxton Berrios and some of the other guys.
Okay. Is there a DK-esque kind of player in this draft? Body frame like that with that kind of a maneuverability?
I mean, the big three, the big three with Marv, Odunze, and Malik. Malik doesn't obviously have that type of size, but obviously Brian Thomas, I guess, would be the next one because you need the speed. But BT, like Brian Thomas, is a freak as a receiver position. There's so much that he has to learn. I think Brian Thomas would be perfect in a DK Metcalf route plan where you're just curl routes, go routes, post early on, and then you start to see him develop over the middle and do little things. If the Chiefs find their hands on Brian Thomas, the NFL is going to be in for some trouble.
Well, what are your thoughts on Leggett? Do you think he fits that mold as well, somewhat, or what do you think? What are your thoughts on him?
He's more raw than that. Leggett is, again, he's more like AJ Brown-esque, where I want him to develop just the little suddenness to him. I think Leggett's going to be a good pro. I think everybody that's kind of like, oh, he broke out in his fifth year, I don't care. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, what we have to look at players for what they are now, not what they were 4 years ago. I don't really care what you were 4 years ago. It doesn't really affect me in the slightest. So Leggett would be a guy that I want him in Carolina. That's just my my little take. I obviously, as a Panthers fan, I think he would fit really well with us. I think with the Chiefs, I mean, they might be more interested with what's going on with Rashee Rice because that's kind of the role that I think Leggett would fit well in early on in his career. So if the Chiefs want to go receiver again in the first, to kind of the same situation they were just 4 years ago with Tyreek Hill, where they took McCole Hardman in the first round because he had a lot of legal troubles. They might be doing the same with Rashee Rice.
They might have to, Jordan.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
They might not have a choice.
No.
Before we get out of here, Jordan, I definitely want to thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming through, talking ball with us. Last one for you. Adonai Mitchell, he's getting a bit of a bad rap on his effort, on why he's not getting the ball and things like that. There was some inconsistency with the drops early on. What are your thoughts on him, and what are you working on over at Roto Grinders?
So, Lady Mitchell, I don't blame him whatsoever for this lack of effort. If you've watched the Texas offense, the amount of times that he's getting open or he is designed to be the one that gets the ball, and the amount of times that Quinn Ewers can't throw it to him or Malik Murphy just is incapable of giving him an accurate ball, like it shows. And at the end of the day, I think effort's just coaching. How much do you respect your coach in these instances? How much do you respect the players around you to actually go out and do that? Like the effort thing, like could it carry into the NFL? Sure. But I think the effort levels of different players change when they're put in situations that encourage them to be better. Like we've seen the locker room change between what you guys previously had to what Mike McDaniel's brought. Mike McDaniel's a nerdy dude. Like he's very, very different than the modern day, like rah football coach. Like, but he connects with players because players seem to genuinely think he cares. And like they hear him and they see what he's building offensively, and they're like, this dude's crazy, but I respect it. Same thing with like the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans. Those coaches connect with players in different ways. For whatever reason, I'm assuming AD Mitchell didn't connect with his coaches like that, or didn't have that same respect level. And again, I don't like to talk negatively on these players coming in from that level because I don't personally know any of these guys. But I will say with AD Mitchell, I think the lack of effort stemmed from the lack of consistent play at the quarterback position, because I can't believe that Quinn Ewers is still starting. Like I would be shocked if Arch Manning doesn't see the field this upcoming year. But as far as what I'll be doing at Roto Grinders, it's I'll be producing a lot of college football content with them this upcoming year, breaking down the main slate from FanDuel to DraftKings, providing a lot of my plays. And I believe I'll be writing some sort of NFL article, probably on some of these receiver props, because when they finally got us the Hard Rock in South Florida, I was able to have some alternate lines that did pretty well. I think my most notable one was hammering Brandon Ayuk's over against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think he went for 160, and then actually touted Desmond Ridder and Drake London against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think in like 3 weeks later, where Drake London went for like 170 yards receiving. So receiving props and college football work will be a lot of what I'll be doing over at Roto Grinders.
Perfect. Listen, thanks again, Jordan, for joining us. Appreciate all your info. Everybody out there is watching. Make sure you follow him and give this man some love. He's courteous enough to give us some time on a Tuesday night with everything going on.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Hey man, thank you, Jordan. We appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Anyway.
French with that.
Yeah, man. Let's not get started on French. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have a podcast reaction to this. You can find it on every platform you guys want to download. You know what I'm saying? Check us out. Fins for the win, man. You already know, man. Coach, tell them where we can find us at, man.
Yeah. You can find us on YouTube. Find us on every single platform as far as streaming is concerned. We're on all social media platforms. Pick us up where you listen to your podcast. And on that note, go Heat. We're up 58-43 against the New York Knicks. Peace!